welcome to the deep dive. So, the source material we're looking at today is, well, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, that's
We're
what's right.
stepping into a specific theological treatise. It alleges this really complex, covert plan for what it calls a new world religion.
It's quite a claim.
Yeah, it's not light reading, but our mission, as always, is to sort of pull out the key insights for you quickly and clearly.
And what jumps out right away, really, is the focus on the Abrahamic family houses, the ones set up in Abu Dhabi back in 2022.
Right.
According to this analysis, that project is, well, it's way more than just interface dialogue.
More than it seems on the surface.
Exactly. The source sees it as a modern blueprint, like a clear first step towards a hybrid religion.
Hybrid, okay.
Yeah, designed to unite the world, and then, this is the kicker, eventually be replicated on, well, the most contested piece of real estate on Earth.
The Temple Mount in Jerusalem.
Precisely.
Okay, let's try and unpack that core premise right from the start then. It's high stakes.
Absolutely.
So the source is basically saying this push for unity, this interfaith movement, it's not about spiritual goodwill.
No, the argument is that it's a specific Luciferian preparation.
Luciferian, okay. Laying the groundwork then.
Exactly. Setting the stage for the arrival of one single figure, the false Messiah.
Who the source identifies as, well, different things to different groups, right? AntiChrist for Christians.
Or the Mahdi for Muslims, yeah.
Yep.
And the timing is critical, according to the source.
So,
It suggests this happens by taking advantage of a kind of spiritual vacuum, maybe created by huge global disruptions.
like what sort of disruptions are we talking about?
The source mentions things like potentially a Christian rapture event or even a major alien disclosure scenario. Big reality-shaking stuff.
Wow, okay. And to understand the thinking behind this, the source points to specific historical figures.
Yeah, you really have to look at its foundations. Specifically, quotes they attribute to Albert Pike, the 19th century figure.
Pike, right. What's the key quote there?
Well, Pike supposedly laid out this core inversion of values. He allegedly said, Lucifer, god of light and god of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the god of darkness and evil.
So, flipping the script entirely, Lucifer as the good guy.
That's the idea presented. This philosophy, positioning Lucifer as mankind's helper against a punitive creator, that's what the source claims is the actual theological engine driving this modern ecumenical movement.
That definitely sets a chilling stage.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the old philosophy, what about the modern execution? Let's dive into segment 1, this modern blueprint and the alleged Luciferian preparation.
Okay, so the modern push doesn't actually start with bricks and mortar. It starts with paper.
A document.
Yes, the 2019 Human Fraternity document, signed in Abu Dhabi, Pope Francis and Sheikh Ahmed El Tayeb.
Ah, I remember that. Big news at the time.
Huge. And the source sees that document as the formal beginning, the sort of legal and moral cover for what it's calling the hybridization of global faiths.
And the physical result is that complex on Saadiyat Island. Very symbolic.
Yeah.
Extremely. You've got the three distinct buildings right next to each other.
The Imam Al Tayeb Mosque, the St. Francis Church, and the Moses Ben Maimon Synagogue.
Built to be equal spaces for worship, for dialogue, designed to project this image of global coexistence.
Which sounds good on paper.
It sounds harmonious, yes, but the source's analysis is pretty blunt about it.
How so?
It argues this whole thing is the brainchild of the Luciferian globalists.
Strong words.
Very. And the aim is theological integration, but one that's Luciferian at its heart. And the practical goal.
Let me guess. Control.
Control. Think about it. If you can unite the three big Abrahamic faiths. Judaism,
Christianity, Islam.
You're essentially steering the spiritual direction for, what, roughly 65% of the entire world population.
55%, that's huge. What's the breakdown?
The source estimates around 2 billion Muslims globally, and maybe 3 billion Christians. You unify the leadership structure, the theology. That's immense influence.
5 billion people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a staggering level of potential control. Geopolitical, theological, everything.
Exactly. And the source insists this isn't some recent idea. It points back again to figures like Pike.
The 1871 letter.
Right. That alleged letter supposedly detailed a plan. Unleash nihilism, atheism, provoke a massive global crisis.
Why? What was the goal?
The idea was that the survivors, the disillusioned masses, they'd be so desperate for answers, they'd eagerly grab on to the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view.
So create the chaos, then offer the solution, a solution rooted in this inverted theology.
That's the narrative presented.
And we're talking about a plan potentially laid out 150 years ago, culminating in a building complex finished just recently in 2022.
That continuity is exactly what the source uses to build its case, to frame it as a long-game conspiracy.
Pike wasn't the only one mentioned.
No, there's also Helena P. Blavatsky. She advocated for a universal brotherhood.
Theosophy, right?
Yes, and the source explicitly labels theosophy as the worship of Lucifer. Her belief, according to this treatise, was that this ideology needed to filter into the West, specifically through the Christian churches.
Through the churches? How?
That's not fully detailed, but the source makes a really interesting concrete connection. It points out that Blavatsky's publication, Lucifer magazine.
Lucifer magazine. Seriously.
That was its name. It apparently later morphed into Lucis Trust.
And Lucis Trust has connections to
the UN. The source presents this as evidence of a direct, continuous institutional path for this ideology.
Wow. Okay, so if you follow that logic, the Abu Dhabi complex starts to look less like interfaith harmony and more like, well, the implementation phase of a very old strategy.
That's precisely the source's argument.
But this modern blueprint, the Abu Dhabi houses, that's just the warm-up act, according to the source.
Exactly. The precursor, the real endgame, the main event, happens back in Jerusalem.
Which brings us to segment 2, the contested real estate, the Temple Mount. Why is that specific spot so central to everything?
Well, the source material frames the Temple Mount as much more than just a holy site. It's presented as the physical center point of a cosmic war.
A cosmic war? Between who?
Between Jehovah and Lucifer, essentially. It's described as the most fought-over land on Earth because, according to the text, it's the only place Jehovah claimed exclusively for himself.
But he allowed Israel to use it.
Conditionally rented it out is the phrase used, specifically to Israel, or what remained, mainly the tribe of Judah, and cosmically. The source claims this patch of land was actually reclaimed from Lucifer's kingdom after a celestial battle.
Okay, that definitely ramps up the stakes. The source talks about Lucifer's original status, too.
It does. Describes him as an anointed cherub. That's a specific class of angel, often shown with 4 wings, and it claims he developed a Christ complex.
Meaning?
Meaning he wanted his own throne set up high, above the stars, which the source interprets as the other angels, just like Jehovah's throne in heaven.
And the Temple Mount is somehow connected to that ambition.
It's seen as the earthly focal point of Lucifer's ongoing desire for that throne, a place to establish his authority on earth, since he can't in heaven.
And the site itself has layers of significance.
Oh, absolutely. It's identified as Mount Moriah, where Abraham was tested with Isaac.
Which foreshadows Calvary, Jesus' sacrifice.
Right, but there's more. The treatise also theorizes it might be a kind of cosmic portal, a stargate.
A stargate? Seriously?
That's the term used, possibly the exit point from Eden for Adam and Eve. And it connects this to heavenly geography.
How so?
Suggesting heaven's center involves some kind of 3-structure configuration, maybe triangulated. And the Temple Mount is its direct earthly mirror.
An earthly reflection of a heavenly pattern.
Okay.
So if this site is destined for 3 houses mirroring heaven, the source must outline a historical sequence for them on the mount, driven by this idea of a spiritual vacuum.
Exactly. It maps out a sequence. First, obviously, it was the House of Judaism, the 2 temples.
Both destroyed, tragically, on the same date, Av 9.
Yes. The source mentions Av 9, that traditional Jewish day of mourning. After the Second Temple's destruction in 70 A.D., there was a vacuum.
And the spot where the Holy of Holies was.
Now marked by the Dome of the Tablets, which the source describes as white, linking it to the Shekinah glory, that visible presence of God.
Okay, so temple destroyed, vacuum created. What filled it next, according to this interpretation?
What the source calls false Christianity. It suggests this era began with Constantine's Edict of Milan, recognizing Christianity.
And specifically on the Mount.
The Nea Ecclesia Church, built in 533 A.D., dedicated to Mary. Significantly, it was situated on the site where the Al-Aqsa Mosque was later renovated.
Interesting placement. And this house is associated with?
The moon goddess, according to the source, and symbolically the silver dome.
Okay, Judaism, white glory, then a form of Christianity, silver moon. That leaves the third.
Which is the House of Islam, manifested by the construction of the Dome of the Rock.
The gold dome.
The gold dome, yes, corresponding to the sun. And the source adds another layer. During the Crusades, when the Knights Templar were there, they apparently made the old Al-Aqsa site, the quote-unquote Christian house, their headquarters. Not the Dome of the Rock, not the site of the Jewish temple,
Implying
perhaps an affinity or a continuation. The source suggests these three entities, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, have been circling this spot for almost 2 millennia, setting the stage for a final convergence, a hybridization.
a convergence orchestrated towards this final takeover. That's quite the historical narrative.
It ties it all together, leading towards the climax.
Okay, let's move to that climax then, segment 3. This false Messiah figure, he has to appeal to all three groups somehow, right?
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
He needs to be seen as the Messiah by Jews, the Christ figure by Christians, and the Mahdi by Muslims, simultaneously.
How on earth does one figure do that? They have very different expectations.
The source claims he'll present himself as this ultimate political and spiritual unifier, a kind of greater Solomon and Suleiman.
Linking figures revered across the tradition.
Exactly. Appealing to the Jewish hope for a king Messiah restoring the temple, the Christian desire for a powerful, unifying leader, maybe bringing peace, and the Muslim anticipation of the Mahdi who establishes global justice, a figure for everyone.
A masterful deception, if the source is right, and the timing is very specific.
Very. He makes his big move, enters the rebuilt House of Judaism at the exact midpoint of Daniel's 70th week.
Which, for listeners, the source interprets as that final 7-year tribulation period from prophecy. Right in the middle, 3.5 years in.
Precisely. And this is where we get the abomination of desolations.
The ultimate act of desecration.
According to the source, yes. This false Messiah figure walks into the rebuilt Holy of Holies, sits down on the revealed Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark itself, revealed.
That's the scenario painted. And from there, he demands absolute, immediate worship from everyone on earth.
Why that specific act? Sitting on the Ark.
Remember Lucifer's alleged goal, to sit on Jehovah's throne. Since the source claims Lucifer gets kicked out of heaven after the rapture,
He needs an earthly throne.
he needs Jehovah's throne chair on earth. The Ark in the Holy of Holies is that ultimate seat of power, symbolically. The source suggests Lucifer possesses the false Messiah to achieve this.
And to make everyone worship, there's the mark.
Yes, the mark, which must be taken willingly, on the right hand or forehead.
But here's where the source connects ancient prophecy to, like, bleeding-edge science fiction territory almost.
This is where it gets really, really crucial, yeah.
Yeah.
The source claims the mark isn't just, a chip or a tattoo or an ID.
What is it then?
It's supposedly infused via nanotechnology,
Nanotech. Okay, why?
not just for tracking or payment. The source argues this nanotech is specifically engineered to alter the fundamental DNA sequence of humanity,
To change our DNA.
to literally hack the genome of Adam, as the source puts
To
it.
hack our genome. To enforce worship. That's mind-bending. What's
Yeah.
the supposed theological endgame of doing that?
This is the core of a sinister plan, according to the source. It posits this idea of a theological point of no return.
Meaning?
If a person's DNA is altered beyond a certain threshold, an unspecified threshold, mind you, that person ceases to be 100% human.
And why does that matter theologically?
Because, the analysis argues, they become unredeemable by Jesus Christ.
Unredeemable? How?
The logic presented is this. Jesus' sacrifice, his blood, could only atone for humanity because he himself was 100% human due to the virgin birth, bypassing the male bloodline sin nature, and 100% God. His atonement covers 100% human beings.
So if you're fundamentally altered at the DNA level,
You fall outside that coverage. You're no longer fully human in the way needed for redemption through Christ. That person becomes spiritually unreachable. Permanently.
that's terrifying. If it's true, that's not just control, it's eternal damnation by technology.
That is explicitly identified as Lucifer's ultimate goal. Not just domination, but the irreversible spiritual contamination of billions, cutting them off from God by changing their very essence.
It provides a chillingly specific motive for using something as invasive as nanotechnology for the mark. Okay. Let's shift gears slightly. Segment 4. The source offers a counterpoint, right? The true house.
It does. It pivots back to the foundation of faith. Reminds the reader that true connection with God isn't about fighting over land or building hybrid structures.
How does it frame that?
It quotes the Bible saying Abraham saw his Jesus' day and rejoiced. The point being that the real path, even in the Old Testament, was always meant to be through the Son, Jesus. True friendship with the Creator.
So while all this is supposedly happening on Earth with these contested false houses,
Jesus is building something else entirely separate.
what's that?
A spiritual structure. The body of Christ, sometimes called the bride of Christ.
How is that built?
One saved soul at a time. Each person who comes to faith is like one spiritual brick added to this temple. It's entirely spiritual, not physical or political.
Outside of earthly power structures.
Completely.
And is there a connection to the timeline? When does this spiritual building reach completion relative to the other events?
The source links it directly. It states that this spiritual temple, the bride of Christ, will be finished and then translated up to heaven.
Translated, you mean the rapture?
Yes, that's the event described. And it happens before this global ecumenical Luciferian religion is fully rolled out worldwide, and before the false Messiah steps onto the stage.
So the rapture in this view is the final dividing line. It removes the true house and creates that ultimate spiritual vacuum the false Messiah then exploits.
That's exactly how the source presents the sequence. The rapture triggers the final phase.
Okay. We have covered an incredible amount of ground here. I mean, from a 2019 diplomatic agreement in Abu Dhabi,
All the way back to 19th century philosophy, alleged cosmic battles over the Temple Mount.
and forward to a future involving nanotechnology hacking the human genome for spiritual reasons.
Yeah, the sheer scope of the synthesis in this source material is really something.
It connects dots across millennia, across disciplines, theology, history, politics, technology.
Indeed. It's that weaving together of ancient prophecies with very modern anxieties about genetic engineering, globalism, technology. That's what makes this particular treatise stand out, I think.
So for you listening to this deep dive, taking all this in, what's the final takeaway thought the source leaves us with?
Well, considering the source's most startling claim, that altering human DNA could actually make someone unredeemable, voiding salvation by changing what it means to be human.
Yeah.
What does that imply about the potential spiritual risks wrapped up in the really rapid biological and technological changes happening right now?
You mean like genetic editing, transhumanist ideas?
Exactly. It forces you to ask, where does this source draw the line for essential human nature? And are some of today's scientific and technological pursuits, even if well-intentioned, inadvertently pushing us closer to that boundary, that threshold the source warns about, that non-redeemable state? It's a heavy question to ponder.